Good evening, everybody. Hope everybody's having a wonderful evening. I'm having a. So I just came back from Florida, and I got to say, Florida is a great place to live. They have the laws down there that you can't riot. If you riot, you get your benefits taken away, and if the municipality that condones the rioting or condones this behavior, they'll lose money. So Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, I think is a brilliant man. I think he's got his ducks in a row, and you're going to see the Democrats are going to try to do all kinds of things about him. They're going to say, oh, and if you ever look at his resume, you ever look about his curriculum vitae or CV as we call it, the guy is just I don't want to even go into it. I could talk all night about him. Um, you know, I'll give you an example. In New York City, in the borough of Brooklyn, the police and the district attorney is allowing hookers to ply their trade at night on the street. Now, all right, it's a bad. It's a bad. East New York is not a nice neighborhood. But what about the few nice people that live there? They have to be bombarded with this. They got to walk. They can't walk out of their house without seeing women with very little clothes on parading down the street. Cars pulling up with guys making deals with the girls. People doing drugs in the street. The cops are not doing anything because the mayor of New York, liberal. Actually, he's a communist. He actually was in Nicaragua with the communists. So he's a communist. There's no twist about it. And you got all these crazy things happening in the city, and you got also this irks me. I got to tell you, I've always been in business, and at one time, my father had stores, and it was a different life then. But I grew up in Arthur Avenue, Fordham Road in the Bronx, and on Fordham Road there's tons of stores, beautiful, a lot of stores, nice stores, some cheap stores, but a lot of stores. They have changed the rules. Margaret Chin, is Assemblywoman, made a rule that vendors could have nothing could happen to the vendors. They've taken away the policing of vendors, and they gave it to the consumer affairs who have no teeth. They can't do anything. They can't even ask for the ID. A whole bunch of about 200 store owners in the Bronx, especially, they're complaining. They say, I can't do business. These guys are opening a shop in front of my shop, in front of my store that I pay rent, I pay taxes, I pay my employees, I pay a lot of people, and they pay the salary of governor of the mayor de Blasio and Governor Cuomo. These people are setting up shops right in front of them, and they're always fighting with each other. They're jostling because, let's face it, if we've ever seen the street vendors, they're not Fifth Avenue material. Put it that way, okay? But in any event, everybody's got a right to make a living. All right, I agree with that 100%. But don't do it at the expense of somebody else, like they're doing. And it's not only in the Bronx, it's doing all over the city. Now that they changed this rule, there's no enforcement. There's no enforcement at all. They don't even have to have licenses. Before, you had to have a vendor's license. If you don't have a vendor's license, nobody's going to say anything. So why get a license? Why spend the money on a vendor's license when nobody even wants to police it or even ask you for the ID? So what this goes down to is quality of life. The quality of life in the cities is horrible. They want to defund the police, and the police are demoralized. They don't want to do their job because why? If they do their job, they get in trouble. They lose their pension. So a lot of them are just staying there. I mean, if it's something very serious like a shooting or someone getting hurt or not, they're going to do their job. But stuff like this, they don't care. They're told, don't do anything. Don't do anything. And as you know, the police department has lost a lot of people. A lot of people retired if they were able to retire. Some people just out and out quit. They said, I'm not going to work at this to get a pension when I don't know what's going to happen. Yeah, Eddie, what do you say? Disgraceful what's going on in the city. There's more vendors now than there are stores on Fordham Road. Three Card Monte is back in action. Everybody knows what Three Card Monte is. it's a gambling game and it's a scam. They get 3 cards and one of them is an ace and the other 2 are queens or kings, and it's a sleight of hand, and they rip off people left and right on that. And the people are stupid to play that game. They think they're going to win and they don't. They let them win the first couple hands and then they suck them in for a couple $100. But how do you feel if you open a store, you break your ass to make money, to save money, to buy a store, to buy the fixtures in the store, to buy the window decoration, to buy the material that you're selling, the products that you're selling, and you're paying big rent. Usually they're paying pretty good rent, and you're paying taxes and all kinds of other stuff. And you get these guys who are not paying anything, opening up in front of your store. Your customers don't want to come in. They don't want to be bothered with this. And the customers that deal with the vendors on the street, you don't want them in your store anyway. And what they're selling is usually junk, cheap shit, never anything good. But people, listen, there's a market for it, obviously, so that people are going out to it. So again, the quality of life in New York, in a lot of the cities, is horrible. And I don't understand how the people who vote for these politicians don't figure it out. I mean, are they really that stupid that they can't figure out that there's crime being committed, there's not enough police, and the police are not able to do their job, all because 1 or 2 bad cops caused someone to die while in custody, while they were resisting arrest. I must add that. I'm not defending the police, but it wasn't a law-abiding citizen just happened to be walking down the street and they stepped on his neck for 9 minutes. It's a guy who put a gun to a pregnant woman, was in jail many times, been arrested, is out on bail on some other case. I mean, you're talking about a career criminal, and they're personifying him. They're making their statues to him and fundraisers for unbelievable. And that's what our society is coming down to. Now, one of the things that I want to talk about tonight is that the society is breaking down in a lot of ways, and it's all a plan. Now, if you look at, I'm going to repeat myself. You look at 1917 in Russia, the Bolsheviks, everything went crazy. It was just a bedlam. So what happens is when you have confusion, when you have bedlam, when you have rioting, a crisis, somebody has to take charge, and that's usually the person who caused it. In the case of the communists or the Bolsheviks, they caused it. In the case in Cambodia and China, and everybody, it's Venezuela is a great example of that. Okay, and Cuba. Now, what's happening in the United States is a total breakdown. I believe I don't know if it was Black Lives Matter or one of the liberal organizations were trying to define what a nuclear family was. Now, my definition of a nuclear family is a father, a mother, a couple kids, maybe an aunt and an uncle, and a grandfather and grandmother, that kind of stuff. They were trying to explain that a lot of these families don't have a father, so it's a different type of family. And they're right, it is a different type of family, but they're trying to minimize the nuclear family and making this extended family the norm, which is not going to happen. You got a man that has 4 baby mamas, 6 kids. The kids don't know each other. They're half brothers and half sisters. The baby mamas get no money from the fathers. These guys half of them don't work. Or if they work, they keep all the money. Or they're dealing drugs or whatever they're doing. And these women have to collect welfare or work. I had one guy that I spoke to, a nice guy, but that's his thing. I said, how many kids you got? He goes, I got 4 kids. I got 3 baby mamas. One of the baby mamas has 2 of my kids, and the other ones have 1 each. I said, okay. Now, I'm not trying to argue with you, but what about the kids knowing their brothers? Well, he said, they get together once in a while. Oh, yeah, okay. And I said, what about you? How do you deal with the kids? I mean, do the kids see you? Well, on their birthdays and stuff like that, and different occasions. And And that's where we have a breakdown of our society. We have people that don't have any kind of real family. That's not a family. That's not a family. I'm sorry. And anybody wants to argue with me, anybody wants to discuss it with me, what a family life is. I remember Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer were defending MS-13, one of the most violent gangs ever set foot in this earth. Okay. And Nancy said, if I could quote her, or not verbatim, but quote her, says, well, these guys, it's like a family. Oh, yeah, a gang is a family. I guess so. I mean, that's a new synonym for a gang is a family. And I mean, I don't understand how their liberalism, not even liberal, they're far leftist, communist. They personify things that maybe if you collect welfare and also have to go to family life classes. Yeah, that would be nice if they did that. Ellen Cott was just saying, I don't know if Anthony, can the viewers see the comments that people put on for me? I guess not. Okay. So what happens is, if you break down the family values, you break down the society in general, then you could take over. Now, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I just listen to people and I have my own opinions about what they say. But a lot of people are saying that this is an excuse to putting federal police, where we have a federal police force instead of a local police force. And that would be the first step of communism. Hello, Vinny, La Barbara. All right. Another Vinny. Yes, they can. Okay, good. What bothers me is that they're trying to make this. And here's the funny thing. I was in Florida. By the way, I was doing a book signing at the Smoke Inn, which is in Delray Beach, Florida, which is a gorgeous area, up and coming. They're building hotels. There's great restaurants. It's a phenomenal place. And I'm going to move there very shortly, I hope. But in any event, I was sending some packages to UPS, and I said, wow, this is a Trump-loving, Republican states. Because, yeah, but you have the richer counties like Palm Beach and part of Dade County. He says, those people are liberals. I said, it's funny. They're liberals, but they live in gated communities. They live where there's no crime, very little crime. Oh, Vinny, you met me at the government. Oh, yeah. How are you, baby? So they live they're hypocrites. I said this once before, I'm going to say it again. A friend of mine lives in Westchester County, which is a very nice area to live. And in the town that he lives in, which is very left-wing Democratic, they made a petition to change the exit ramp on the Hutchinson River Parkway because it goes through their town. And they don't like the people that go through it. Now, who goes through the town is the Mount Vernon people, which are predominantly black. So these people who claim that they are promoting for BLM, they're promoting for all this other stuff. But when it comes in their backyard, no, they don't want that. Hey, Wendy, how are you tonight? They don't want that. Vinny, it's a pleasure meeting you too. Now, let me do my show. but I want Vinny, I want your comments, please I like comments. It gets me going. Like even these Hollywood movie stars, all these liberals, they live in walled areas. They have bodyguards. They don't want they want gun control. Meanwhile, the only ones you have to control guns are the criminals. Name one shooting in the last 2 years or 3 years or whatever of a person who is licensed to carry a gun and committed a crime with it. No, it's always the criminals that get guns. And you can't stop guns, just like you can't stop drugs. There's always, but you can buy a gun in the street. You don't need a license. You got to know somebody on the street. You got to go in the neighborhood. You talk to somebody. If they see that you're not a cop and they believe that you are of the same ilk, they'll sell you a gun for $1,000, whatever. I don't know what the price of guns are now, but so why are the leftists trying to stop guns? Well, I'll tell you why. In Cuba, when the communists took over and after Fidel Castro, they took everybody's guns because people with guns can fight back. Same thing in Venezuela. Venezuela, people don't have guns. That you can't fight back. You see, Russia, the same thing. The Bolsheviks took all the guns away. And in China, people in China don't have guns. They can't fight. They protest in Tiananmen Square. What did they get? They all got shot. 1,000 people got shot. They have no compunction to kill somebody in China. And yeah, we keep. All right. The problem is handheld guns, not rifles. The NRA supports rifles, but they do support handguns if it's legal. The handguns that we're talking about is. Oh, I see. I agree with everything you're saying. I'm saying done trying to show facts to the liberals who are stupid. Wait, what's a stuptard? That's a new word. Okay, I'm going to use that, Wendy. So what we have is the corrosion of society, decloring. I used the word decloring the populace. They're taking away their guns. They have no weapons, and you can control them. And that is what's going on. Now, this, I don't know if we're going to bring anybody on tonight, talk about critical race theory, but that's another way. It's another way of controlling people. Let the kids in school think that white people are extremists and that they've hurt, and they have hurt black people, but that was a long time ago. That we had a civil war, hopefully to knock that out, and we had some legislation, civil rights legislation. So let's forget about the past. Let's work to the future, but they're not going to do that. So what they're doing now is they're trying to just take over the country, and the globalists are great about it. Now, talk about globalists. You got Jeff Bezos, you got Zuckerman, and you got what's his name? Twitter, Daphne, douchebag. I don't know what his name is. Whatever, it doesn't matter. They're billionaires. So suppression equals communism equals population control. Hence the vaccine. Ah, yes, the vaccine. Wendy, I'm glad you brought that up. We're going to talk about that too. Stuparts is better. Yes, Wendy, Stuparts is better. Okay. So what we have is the total breakdown of society. And one of the ways is the school. You have the liberal teachers teaching the kids. Now, kids should learn ABCs, 1, 2, 3. They should learn history as it really happened. Not history the way they want it to happen. Not history the way they want their narrative to be taught. Okay? I've been in business for a few years. I have to interview people for jobs. And I've interviewed people with college degrees and high school degrees. And I have to say, a lot of them were really dumb. You mentioned something that happened 50 years ago that everybody should know in history. They have no clue because they don't teach them that. They don't teach them that. And then I met people that they can't do cursive. I mean, when you're in school, you learn how to write cursive, not print, and you learn how to print also. And I mean, not that it's the end of the world, but it just shows the lack of education a lot of people have, and it's a shame. It's a real shame. But going back to what I said before, now, first of all, what is the world coming to? I mean, it's just everything's just crazy. People are being shot in cities, some for no reason, and some because they're in the line of fire for drug dealers. And what's going to happen is you're going to see more and more drug related shooting incidents because of the cartel members that are coming into this country. You got to remember, the cartel is a criminal enterprise, okay? Very violent, very vicious, okay? And they're fighting amongst themselves, by the way. So now they're used to fighting other crime families. Now they're coming into the United States. They are going to go into the poor neighborhoods where drugs are being sold by Blacks and Hispanic. Hey, Golden Debbie. Oh my goodness. Good to see you. Some night we're going to talk about your she's been in court for years with her mortgage, and they sold her mortgage to 4 different banks. She's been in court, and they don't even know how to handle her, and she's been fighting like a pit bull. But now I forgot what I was talking about. Somebody help me. Anthony, what was I talking about? Well, basically, talking about how everything's the globalists, and this everything is. Now, here's the funny thing: no matter what goes on, no matter how our society gets destructed and goes through all kinds of change, the elitists, the globalists are going to be on their perch. It's not going to affect them. They're like above everybody. They don't have to follow the rule. Like, I'll give you an example. Nancy Pelosi, you got to have a mask. She went into a beauty parlor, no mask when it was supposed to be closed. And her excuse was she was set up. Oh yeah, someone put a gun to her head and said, you got to have your nails done and your Anthony, remind me later about they want to change the flag and the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay. To further break down the country, almost every country in the world respects their flag, the nationalism. And Jamie, Bonnie Jamie told me that, says, especially in England, Ireland, they really, but if we respect our flag, we're extremists. We're white supremacists because we want the flag represents the country, which was founded by people 260 years ago that were racist. I just. So what's happening is between critical racial theory, Black Lives Matter, Antifa, and now they want to change the flag because the flag is racist. Okay, so they want to change the flag. Also, they have a different Pledge of Allegiance or a different anthem, and this is all. How can I say it? It's all part of the plot to take over the country. You just knock everything out of and the people in the United States have to wake up and have to fight back the only way they can, through legislation, voting. Now, we're going to also talk about the voting. Every day now I get emails that in Arizona and Georgia, they're finding ballots, they're finding discrepancies that are unreal. And I'll give you an example. In Arizona, the Democrats hired 73 attorneys to fight the audit. Now, if there wasn't any fraud, there wasn't any misgivings during this election, why would they have 73 attorneys fighting? If there was nothing wrong, they would just say, okay, let it go. Now, these voter registration laws that these states have been, I think about 9 states have passed it. They're not suppressing the vote. Actually, in some cases, expanding the voting time, actually having more places to vote. But they want ID. That's the problem. They don't want to have ID because they can't cheat. That's why, and I think Trump screwed up. I really do. I think he should have realized what was going on. He should have had more poll watchers. He should have let the Republican National Party spend money on investigators to be at these places to document what was going on. But they didn't. He was so, well, I believe he got the majority of the votes. But the thing is, he assumed that, and I think the Democrats assumed that too. So they made plans to subvert. So yeah, he wanted it will all be exposed. But when it's exposed, what's going to happen? Can anybody tell me that all right, so let's say we get 4 high-ranking Democrats from the Democratic National Committee who admit that they defrauded the American people and they cheated Trump out of it. What are they going to do? Can they go to the Supreme Court, which I have seen is not favoring Trump, unlike what most of the liberals say. Oh, we've got too many conservatives. Well, even the conservatives can vote liberal sometimes, you know. So Trump, I mean, they knew this guy Biden didn't come out of his basement. When he speaks terribly. He stutters. That's his. That was their excuse that he stutters. No, he doesn't stutter. He forgets. He's got dementia. He hasn't aged. Like some people age, they could be in their 80s and they're still sharp, but he's not sharp. He was never sharp to begin with. Okay. If you look at his history of his racial sayings, I mean, worse than anybody else, or Republican or conservative, and yet the mainstream media let the public forget about that. The mainstream media is part of the problem. They're the leftists. They're part of the leftists, and it's self-evident what's going on. But Anthony, let's we had. Okay. I keep talking. I love to talk. Oh, yeah. The book signing party we had in Florida was pretty good. We had a little bit of a hurricane while we were doing it, so we did have some people show up, but bought the books, and I made some good contacts to do more publicity for the books, and they're doing okay. They could be doing better. That's a hint, everybody. They're not expensive. Let them buy them, and I'll sign them at the next. Matter of fact, we're going to have a book signing party in Queens in the first week in August, and then we're going to have a lot of book signing at Ferragosto. If anybody doesn't know what Ferragosto is, it's a celebration on Arthur Avenue in the Bronx for 6 hours, from 12 noon to 6 p.m. And it's only music and food. No games, no, none of that bizarre stuff. They have people dressed up in costumes from the Middle Ages, like minstrels, and they walk around. It's really nice. Take pictures. It's all about food. You cannot believe how many people show up. About 20,000 people in a 5-block area. It's crowded, but get there early enough. And you get there early enough to buy my book, so I'm gonna have a stand there anyway. But the food is great. A great restaurant, and they're out on the street, so you don't have to wait online for food. It's like almost like fast food, and it's great. So it's a nice day. It's the first Sunday after Labor Day. This year, I think it's September 13th. So it'd be nice to see you people there. You'll see my table. Say hello. Even if you don't buy a book, so come by and say hello. By the way, in Florida, we had a lot of people from my Facebook friends showed up. And also a number of private detectives that I've done work with in Florida showed up. And it was really nice. It was a very nice thing. Plus, I made a couple dishes from my book. Was this suggestion of my friend Mike Giraldo's son. He said, hey, why don't you make something that you make in the book? So I made a couple dishes. I made a fettuccine Alfredo, my style, my way, which is pretty good. Everybody liked it. And then I made a arugula salad with little bits of prosciutto in there, gorgonzola cheese, and pinoli nuts. Bada bing. And sliced partlet pears, very thin, to give a little sweetness. And that went over pretty big. Okay. We're going to talk about, one other thing I want to talk about. I don't know why some companies take political stances, because it only hurts them in the pocketbook. You got Coke did this thing about whiteness. They lost some business. Some of these companies, they pander to what I call terrorists, because Black Lives Matter are basically extortionists. And they learned from the best Al Sharpton. I don't know if anybody who doesn't know about it, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Al Sharpton. In the 80s, 90s, he's a reverend, but he's never had a congregation that I know. I don't. Everybody knows he has a congregation. Please let me know. But he's a reverend. Okay, he's a reverend. I should become a reverend myself, Reverend Vinny Parco. But he's the great extortionist. He used to go to construction sites with a bunch of black, not Hispanic, just black men saying they can't get a job in the union or they can't get a job on the job site, and they make a nuisance of themselves. Okay, in some cases, some violence ensued. But when the owner comes out and says, "Can we talk?" and they talk on the side, the guy gives him an envelope, and all of a sudden, it goes away. Everything goes away. He got some money. He probably gives very little to the guys, but he makes them. So he's been an extortion. And look what he did with Tawana Brawley, trying to demean a man who happened to be friends with him, Steve Pagonis, who was an assistant DA, who didn't have nothing to do with Tawana Brawley, claiming that he raped her. And they found out that the whole thing was a scam. By the way, to prove that, they went to court, and Tawana Brawley had to pay Steve. I think she's still paying him. She's like a nurse's assistant, and every week she's got to give money out of her paycheck. And I don't know. I believe Sharpton got sued too, but I'm not. Anybody knows corrects me. But he got sued too, and I probably have to lay out some money. So, but this Black Lives Matter. I remember I was shopping in Target one day, and I'm reading the next day that they swarmed into one of the Target stores, Black Lives Matter, and they harassed the customers, and the managers called up the main office. And guess what? They got a donation to the cause a few days later. That's how they do it. They get a donation. And the Black Hand in the mafia in the turn of the century did the same thing. Extortionists always do that. We're going to give you protection. We're going to. I mean, I've been in law enforcement. I've had situations where a store owner has hired us and said, "Look, we have a problem. We got these guys coming around. They're making like they're gangsters when they're not. They just want to be, but we don't want trouble with them. So sometimes we have to intercede, or we have to provide security." And then they get the idea like, well, maybe we shouldn't bother these people. Let's go bother somebody who's going to give a shit and pay us. And but Ben and Jerry's had something about the Israelis, about the settlements. I forgot exactly what, but it was enough that their ice cream is being taken off the shelves of a number of food chains. Some of these food chains hire or have owners that are Jewish. And what do you mean you're going to go against Israel? Keep your mouth shut. Sell your fucking ice cream. Don't get involved in politics like these football and baseball players. Yeah, they can get involved because they're making $500 million a year. No, let's say $100 million a year playing basketball, a game that most people would play for free. And they can make political statements because it doesn't affect them. I guess they got to say something. But now, here's a good one. You talk about criminals. This is law and disorder. Bill Clinton is going on the New York Stock Exchange. He's got a company debut. So it could be another criminal enterprise. Look what they did at Haiti. You know how much money they collected for Haiti, and none of them went to the Haitian people? And nobody does that. Nobody ever went after Hillary. You know why? Because she's got so many people in her pocket. She's got stuff on so many people. And look at how many people that did go against her, or were going to testify against, wound up dead. I think the last count is 43 or 44. Anybody know better than me? Please tell me. Now, the other thing I want to talk about, and it bothers me that for 4 years they went after Trump on stuff that they could never prove because it's bullshit. Now, I'm not saying he's the greatest guy in the world. Listen, the guy is a businessman. He's a real estate. I've done business with real estate people. And then a lot of them aren't that nice. That's the way their business is. That's the way they are. They're always looking to get over. They're always looking to get the upper hand. So you're talking about a man that's been in business, been bankrupt, stuff like that, but he comes back, he's successful. That pisses these people off. He also pissed them off because they couldn't buy him. They couldn't buy him. What he likes, and this is my opinion, he likes the glory of being the president, of being MAGA, make America great again. He loves, that's his ego. He's feeding his ego, which is okay for me because he did it. I think he did a great job. But the liberals or the leftists will never say anything good about him, anything that he did good, like unemployment, bringing back manufacturing, which Obama said will never happen. Remember he said that? Oh, that won't happen. The gross national product went up to three points when under Obama it was never past 1 point. I can go on and on and on. I mean, yeah, he has mean tweets. Sometimes he belittles people. That's his style. You know, I'm not crazy about it, but that's what he likes to do. And look, it served him well in the first election. Didn't serve him well in the second one, however. So we got a lot of things that we could say bad about Trump, but he did a good job. Look what he did. A prime example is what's going on in the border, the southern border. You have people coming in, children. A lot of people are dying because of Biden's letting them come over. People are climbing over the wall. The custom border agents can't do anything. They are swamped because people actually go to them and say, "I want to surrender. I want asylum." But it's the ones that don't surrender that squeeze through the cracks. And I keep saying this, and I hope I'm wrong, but I know I'm going to be right. All these cartel members, they're going to go and set up in other neighborhoods, and they're going to have wars. There's going to be more violence, more killings, and more shootings than you've ever seen before. You will see more than Chicago and New York or Seattle, any of the big cities. They will, because their value of life is very low. They have no value for life. And look what they did in Mexico, how they just cut people's heads off. And police, I remember I broke my heart to see 9 police officers had their heads cut off and they found their bodies naked on the side of the road. And it's a shame. But that's the world we live in. Now, Mexico, they have the federal police, but it's just too big for them. It's too big. And we have let it go. Now, you got to remember that you have police officers, you have district attorneys, and you have judges that have been corrupted. They take money for favors to drug dealers. I mean, every once in a while you see one of them get caught and they go to jail, whatever. But what about the ones that we don't catch? You got to remember that in the criminal enterprise, it's all about money and power. So they throw money around. A judge, let's say a judge is making $150,000 a year. Okay. Somebody comes over and says, "Listen, I'm going to give you another $300,000 a year, cash, unreported income, but you got to look the other way. You got to, help us out a little bit." And you know what? It's hard for some people to say no. They get starry-eyed when they give money. Oh my God, I'm going to make a lot of money, So I'm going to take the bribe. And some people justify it. They'll justify. Well, I've been sentencing these drug dealers, and they're multimillionaires, and they go to jail for 2 or 3 years, and they come out, they're still multimillionaires. They make more money in jail than most people make on the street. So they rationalize taking a bribe. It's human nature. It's not anything. It's not earth science, rocket science. It's human nature. Well, I got some good news. This guy, Rainier, he had this Nixon, when he took advantage of people, self-help. I forgot there was a very rich person who's involved. Oh, I can't remember. She was an actress or something. Seagram, an heiress to one of the fortune, and he got sentenced to 120 years in jail because rape was probably one of the things. Plus, he's got to give $3.5 million back to the victim. Apparently, he's made a lot of money doing this, and I guess the federal government is going to seize it and pay the people off. So one woman got $500,000. Some people are going to get less. You know, who knows what they're going to get? But I'm going to say something that might get me in trouble with Facebook, but I read an article about Zuckerberg, whatever. He's actually a publisher. They're calling him a publisher because he's publishing what he wants. He's not neutral, reporting like these news companies. They don't report the news. They give you their slant. You get Rachel Maddow. You got Joe Scarborough and his wife, whatever, Brzezinski. You have Chris Cuomo. You have these. They're giving you their spin on the news. Years ago, Edward R. Murrow and Walter Winchell and some of the other people, they would tell you what the news is, and you make your own decision. You make your own valuation of what happened. And they even 60 Minutes. 60 Minutes used to be pretty. I mean, it was one of the first shows I was ever on, so I gotta like them. But 60 Minutes slants it their way also. They did it to Ron DeSantis. How stupid could the producer be not to realize that he was filming it himself? He had his own film people filming it, and he showed the disparity between what they aired on what they aired on TV and what really happened. And so you could see there is going to be more and more of this going on, more and more. And everything's, they're censoring everything. We have a cancellation society now. Everybody's getting, matter of fact, I was reading an article that some liberals are getting pissed off because they're getting canceled. So it's getting wild. I'll give you an example of how stupid they are. They've been destroying statues. Okay, I can understand destroying a statue of something from the Civil War, Confederate. Okay, because that personifies slavery. Okay, in my opinion. However, they have destroyed statues of abolitionists. They don't even know what an abolitionist is. That's an abolitionist is on their side, and they've destroyed statues of people that helped the black people. But they destroyed it anyway, and they'll find an excuse. They'll find some excuse that something was racist. A pigeon that flew on it was white, so it was racist. Okay, one of the other things I gotta get off my chest is more and more stuff is coming out on Hunter Biden's computer, his emails. Biden out and out lied. These emails show he lied. They're showing a business interest with these companies. Now, if that was Trump, he'd have an impeachment in 2 minutes. Now, of course, they're not going to have an impeachment of Biden because the House of Representatives and the House of the Senate are democratically controlled. Now, they are worried that in another year, they're going to have another election, the 2022 election. And I think a lot of the Democrats are going to lose a lot of seats, and it's going to be a flip. And what happens then? Then their agenda gets changed. Now, the Republicans, ignorance is bliss. Yes, Mike, you're right. Ignorance is bliss. So the Republicans conceivably could impeach Biden and come out. And they have good reason for it. What they did at the border is criminal. People are dying. Now, also today, I read Trump had a thing called a Title 42. And what that is that people with the coronavirus cannot come into the country. Guess what? Biden's rescinding that. So now the border agents, anybody could come in with COVID-19. Now, isn't that hypocrisy? They want people to wear masks. They want people to get vaccinated. They want people to go door to door to make sure you get vaccinated. I mean, is that communist 101 or what? now, but they let people in affecting everybody. I don't understand their rationale. I just don't understand it. I mean, if you would, we want to get a liberal on the show. We want to get a liberal to discuss issues, but they won't go because Wendy said it right. They will not deal with facts. They spin everything their way. If you say it's black, they say no, it's gray. Say it's white, no, it's pink. They have their way of just spinning everything around, especially this dumb bitch that they call a White House spokesperson, Jan Belitsky, whatever, Bisacci. I'll circle around. She circles around everything. Unbelievable. Now, I'm talking about the border crisis. My nephew is a border agent. I think they made him a detective. He was telling, when we have family dinners and we talk about it, the stories he tells me you do not see in the mainstream media. You do not see it unless you watch Newsmax or one of those right-wing, I don't say right-wing, conservative networks. You're not going to hear about this, it's terrible. I mean, the cartels are making money hand over fist. First of all, you have coyotes. They are despicable people that get money from these poor, wretched people that want a better life. They get them to the river and they dump them. Some of them have been drowned. They've drowned, can't swim or whatever. So what happens is they make money on drugs, trafficking, and they're trafficking kids and women, young women. And we can't do anything about it. So what happens is once they get into this country, they start trafficking more women. And a prime example is what's happening in Brooklyn, in East New York, where it's a ghetto neighborhood, and they're letting the hookers go up and down the street in I didn't say broad daylight, it's mostly evening. They're ladies of the evening, right? And because the quality of life in that neighborhood sucks. But you don't see them doing it on the Upper West Side, Upper East Side, because the people there have clout. They have money. They support their assemblyman, their congressperson, whatever. They give money. They do fundraisers for them. So they can pick up the phone. Hey, this is so-and-so. You can't, hey, Mr. Nadler, hey, I gave you $25,000 for the last campaign. Do the right thing. Get some help over here. And they'll do that. But the poor people don't have that clout. Al Sharpton doesn't do anything for the poor people unless he can make money with it. They should investigate Al Sharpton. He has a thing called oh my God, I call it the House of Shame, the House of Honor or something like that, up on 145th Street. I went there one night with an attorney, and he's trying to help the people there. And it's a good. I actually think it's a good thing, but I know that they're going to take advantage of these people. The people there are very simple. They're not educated. You could hear the questions that they ask. You could hear what the problems they have. And I'll give you an example. You had a few years ago, one of the investigators that worked with me with the state. He became a private eye also after so many years. And he was doing work for the two, not Al Sharpton, the other two black attorneys that were representing a lot of people in the 90s. Vernon, something. Well, it doesn't matter. What he says, when you go in there, it's amazing. You go in there, because they was doing work for them. They hired him to do some work. You go in there, there's a big sign in there. If you don't have money, don't come, you got to have money to even see them. They're not doing anything for free. They got to get paid. And he was, he said, these are people that they claim they're civil rights attorneys. They're going to help the people. They're out for the money. They're typical attorneys. I don't want to say typical. I know some good attorneys, but are you listening? Any of you good attorneys? But in any event, it's just another scam. It's just, and every society has criminals. Every society has certain levels of people. One of these days, I'm going to write a book about the history of crime as I see it. I see the Irish running New York City, running the police department, the fire department, but they weren't as gangster. They were gangsters, but not in the true sense. They had some crimes going on. Then the Italians came in, and they became a little bit more violent. They came a little more vicious in their ways, and they took over for like 50, 60 years. Then you have the Russians coming in, and they're even more vicious. They'll kill a whole family when the Italians won't. Or the Colombians, they'll kill a whole family. So what happens is each succeeding crime or crime wave or crime element or gangs, whatever you want to call it, have to be more vicious than the previous one. Look what the Mexican gangs do. They cut heads off. They burn people. I mean, they no one, even the Russians don't do that. I mean, they'll kill you, but they're not going to cut your head off and burn you. So everybody has to be more violent than the other person. And I think it's just part of the criminology. And the more the lax you get, the more crime you have. Now, case in point, Bill Bratton had Jack Maple as his deputy commissioner. Jack Maple was a brilliant man, and so was Bratton. Bratton said, "Listen, let's make something up." They made a thing called Cop Stats. Brilliant idea, where they pinpoint the crime problems. They had the commanding officers of the precinct or the zones or whatever the case may be has to answer to the commissioner. And they all got to get up, and if you ever watch Blue Bloods, you'll see that they do that every once in a while on the show. But what they did was they pinpointed problems, and they made the commanding officers more responsive and responsible for the crimes in their area. And it was phenomenal. They did a great job. Plus, they would put anti-crime and put gun squads and all kinds of different squads to get guns off the street. You can't do that anymore. Under de Blasio and under Cuomo and under the Democratic state Senate, there's no bail. People get arrested. They get out the next day. No bail. You hear about these people getting arrested. They got arrested 5 times. They've been out. There's no big deal. So what happens is they're not afraid of going to jail. As a matter of fact, they quoted a police officer the other day. They didn't use his name because he's still a cop. He said, these gangs, these kids, they're more afraid of getting shot than getting arrested. That's why they're carrying guns. Self-preservation. Also, it's ego. My gang is better than your gang, and we're selling more drugs than you. It's competition. Only it's deadly competition. It's competition where the innocent people are being killed. It's terrible. It's terrible, and I hope this podcast I can get some information out that could be helpful to somebody. I don't think the people that watch this podcast are committing crimes that we just talked about. I think people watching this are more concerned about the crimes. They're concerned about their neighborhood, concerned about their families, and they want, they want to know what's going on. I'll give you an example. I was talking to somebody recently, and I mentioned New York City, and the person right away said, "Oh my God, how can you walk the streets over there? We read about in the newspaper all the crime and everything." And what do you say? I said, "Look, I've lived in the Bronx, I've lived in Manhattan, I've lived in Queens, I lived in Long Island. I never had when I was younger we had some problems, but if you mind your own business, usually you're okay. But then again, you're a tourist in Central Park, or you're a tourist in Times Square, and 2 guys are shooting it out, and you get shot by accident." So that's what people are worried about, really, really worried about. And for example, de Blasio was asked if he wanted some federal funding for more cops. He says, "No, it's okay. We're handling. He's not okay. Also, I got to bring this one thing out, and I wish I had the time and energy to investigate de Blasio's wife, Charlene McCrary, whatever her name is. She has pissed away almost $1 billion on this program called Thrive. What has they done? It's supposed to help have something to do with mental health. You got all these people on the street, half of them are mental cases. That's why they're pushing people down the stairs. That's why they're punching Asians. Every Asian that has been assaulted has not been assaulted by a white supremacist or a white person with privilege. Okay, that's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to say who did it. You make your own assumptions. Okay, not an assumption, it's the facts. So, what's going on? What's going on? The breakdown of society is overwhelming. It's overwhelming. Now, what is the answer? I don't know if anybody could chime in and give me an answer. My answer would be put all these sick people in a hospital. That's it. There are public health laws. When I worked for the state medical board, I actually worked for the health department at one time, and we had we actually enforced them a couple of times. There's certain public health laws regarding a person's sanity and how you could have them committed for their own safety and well-being. Okay, and a lot of these people on the street, these homeless people, are really mental cases. They have PTSD, they have drug issues, they have so many things. But where did Charlene McCrary do for them? What did she do for them? She didn't do anything. Where did this money go? I bet you, and I hope she sues me for saying this. She's not going to get much money, but she could sue me. How many of her friends are on the payroll doing shit, doing nothing, having coffee with her, getting 50, 60, 100,000 a year on this program and doing nothing? A lot. Okay. It's the nature of the beast in politics. And I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat. When you get in power, you're going to give bonuses, not bonus. You're going to give bones to your friends, the people that helped you. And it's human nature. I would do it myself. If I became a governor, let's say, and certain people helped me get elected, I'm going to give them some good position. Hopefully, they're going to do their job. They're not going to just lay around getting paid, doing nothing. But I would like for them to find out who is getting paid on this. I don't even think they have books. She does not know where the money went. If you ask her, and yet nobody's doing. The district attorney in Manhattan is a Democrat. He's not going to do anything. And he's you talk about white privilege. My God, his father was an ambassador, a real WASP, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. If that isn't white privilege, I don't know what it. Okay. And he becomes district attorney. He ran against some good people. One of them was Judge Schneider, a phenomenal judge, and she lost. She tried to be district attorney. She was a former judge, former prosecutor, and she would be phenomenal. But he had the backing of whatever people and the means through media, and he got the job. He got elected. But that being said, we have a minute left. Anybody want to make a final comment? Want me to talk about something quick? All right. I want to thank everybody for listening in. I want to thank the people in Smoke Inn for having my sign party. I want to thank Mike Giraldo, Ellie De La Cruz, private investigator, came up from Miami to this thing, and a beautiful boyfriend that she had, is Mike, and Joe McBratney showed up. So I had a lot of Facebook friends that showed up, and some of the people they're smoking, which is a phenomenon. I'm not a smoker. I smoke a cigar once in a while, but the people there are really nice people. They're very intelligent, well-to-do. They all have good jobs, and they like to smoke cigars. And you could drink there, and it's a nice place. And Delray Beach is coming up unbelievable. Well, I want to thank everybody. And as we say on Arthur Avenue, sempre noi, always with us. Good night, everybody.